Going to kick things off this afternoon. Welcome. My name is Heather Nickerson, the co-founder and CEO of Artifacts. And today we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to do a hands-on workshop about how you can document and share your family history using artifacts. So for those of you who are brand new to Artifacts, we hope this will be a learning experience. For those of you who are already well involved with our platform, welcome back. And we hope you can learn something new today as well. We're going to start off with a brief slideshow presentation. I promise you, not too many slides, to go over 8 key features that family historians and genealogists use when they're documenting, preserving, and sharing their family history with artifacts. We're then going to switch gears, and I'm going to share with you one of my personal artifacts and show you in detail in the artifact how I've used those same 8 features we've covered during the presentation. This will also be time for you to follow along, either take notes, or if you're logged into your Artifacts account or on the Artifacts app, you can follow along and create an artifact as we go. And if time allows, we had one of our members write in this morning and offered to share one of their artifacts with us, dedicated to their family history. So it should hopefully be a fun and entertaining afternoon ahead of us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to walk you through our 8 core features that family historians and genealogists find most useful when working with artifacts. So here goes. All right. Hopefully everyone can see the screen. All right. So document and share your family history with artifacts. The first feature I want to highlight, if you haven't already discovered it, is that at Artifacts, we've reinvented timelines for you. If you're a genealogist, you might have spent a lot of time in other softwares trying to accurately place an item, a document or a family record into a timeline. Or some softwares may have you try to create your own timeline. At Artifacts, we built the timeline feature to be automatic. So when you add an artifact and you add either a date in which you've acquired the item, or if you choose to enter how old it is, and it could either be an exact date, a decade, or even a century, artifacts will automatically populate that item to your timeline. If you don't know what the date is, or you don't enter a date, Artifacts, our software, will automatically populate the item to your timeline based on when you created the artifact. You can always go back and edit the date anytime you want to. You can also, on the Artifacts platform, drag and drop. So you don't have to go back and type in a date. You can move your item across your timeline. Another fun feature of the Artifacts timeline is you can view it in either ascending or descending order. You can view it by century, by decade, or by year. So when we built the Artifacts platform, we wanted timelines to be really fun and really approachable and not add an extra item to your to-do list. So if you haven't discovered the timeline feature yet, I'll show you how you can access it when we get into the live demo part of this. But this is one of the most popular features that family historians and genealogists like about artifacts. We, in fact, had one member write into us over Thanksgiving last year, sharing how he walked his adult children through his artifacts timeline, object by object, year by year. And at the end, he joked that his son said, well, now we know where I get my meticulousness from. So yes, it may run in the family. So those are artifacts timelines. We say they're reinvented for you. Our next feature that family historians and genealogists really enjoy using is the @ feature. So at Artifacts, we have used the at feature to help you interconnect stories and people. And I'll show you this, how to do it, and also what it looks like. But what it means is that when you make an artifact and you type at and you enter a person who may be an artifacts member as well, so you enter their screen name, or if you enter another artifact, you can automatically link the two together. So when you're viewing one artifact, you can then link and view the other with a single click of a button. This makes it really easy, like say connect the dots, right? When you're talking about family history, at least on my side, history is never linear. And there's always stories and add-ons and examples that go across decades or across years or even across family lines. So the at feature allows you to connect those dots and hopefully helps make telling your story a little bit easier, knowing you can tell it piece by piece and connect them all together. All right. Our next feature is our limitless custom tags. We will note that one of our members, who's an avid genealogist, I think has the record for the most tags used on a single artifact, and I believe it's well north of 30. But if you haven't discovered our tag feature, and again, I will show you how to do each and every one of these features in the second part of this presentation. Tags are like custom folders. But the beauty of tags, unlike folders, if you put an item in the folder, typically that's where it sits and stays. When you use tags for an item, you're still being able to sort and search using that tag. However, you can have as many tags as you want on an artifact, linking different family lines, different family holidays, stories, events, you name it. You can see here on the slide where we have tags. This is one example of the number of tags and the specificity of each tag. In this case, this family historian was tagging all the relatives that this artifact was connected to. And each tag had their own collection of artifacts. Your tags don't have to be that complex if you don't want them to be. If you veer more on the storytelling side of artifacts and maybe less on the genealogy side, that's great. On my example, I am not a trained genealogist, but I still love to use custom tags. And one of my favorites is "That's my girl." And I use that tag for all of the artistic creations my daughter has brought home from school over the years. So again, tags can be, if you're a family historian, family genealogist, can be very specific to family lines, um, spots on the family tree, dates, events, you name it. If you're more the family storyteller or the keeper of memories, tags can be as creative and as descriptive as you want them to be. But one of the things we love about tags at Artifacts is that they are limitless, they are entirely customizable, and they're all yours. And I'll show you how to sort and search using tags in the live demo part of this. All right, we're almost halfway through. Our next feature that family historians love to use is being able to share their artifacts, but on their terms. We like to say, save your sanity and save smarter with artifacts. You can see on the screen that when you go to share an artifact, if you've never shared an artifact before, if you click that arrow to share, this is what pops up. And you have the ability to share via email, via screen name, even via link. If you want to copy the link and put it into a text or an email, you can do that too with artifacts. You can also make the artifact public and share into Facebook or Pinterest or other social media platforms. You may be wondering, artifacts are private by default. Why would I ever want to make them public? And that's because sometimes family historians try to crowdsource information. Maybe you think you know where an item came from, but you want some experts to help. One of our members had a ring from the Korean War from her grandfather, and there was insignia on the ring, and they weren't sure what it all meant. So she artifacted it and made it public and popped it into a Facebook group on Korean War veterans. And within minutes had a full explanation for the insignia found on that ring. So there could be use cases where you want to make the artifact public and you're able to do so. But by default, all artifacts are private and you are always in control of who you share with and when you share with them. The other beautiful thing about how we built our share feature is that if you decide you no longer want to share, you can see to the left of the or right of the screen the little trash can symbol. That means you can delete, you can take back that sharing. And at Artifacts, again, because your privacy is first and foremost, when you delete and no longer share that artifact with the individual, it is real time. The way that we design the platform, they can't go back to a previous link to try to access that artifact. Their access has been denied. So our fourth feature is being able to share with who you want, when you want, on your terms. And I'll show you in the live demo how if you want to share, but also give someone edit control or even full control, that's very possible with the sharing feature. All right, folks, up next. If you've gone into the long form on our Artifacts platform, or if you've gone into edit an artifact, you've probably encountered the brand or artist field. If you're a family historian or family genealogist, you might have a different interpretation of this. Maybe you're thinking this is the location of where I'm going to put the link back to my family tree. What the brand or artist field really is called an open edit field. You're able to type in or copy and paste in whatever link or text you'd like to. So in the artifact that I'll share with you later today, the artist, in my interpretation of it, was my father, and I put it right there. So you can use those fields, brand or artist, as you wish. And a lot of times family historians and genealogists will use them to link to documents in Ancestry or in Family Search, or a link back to their family tree. And that's great. We love the creativity in how you set up and structure your family story and how you use the different fields to share that information. Similar to brand or artist, if you've been in the Artifacts platform and you choose to use our location field, you'll note that that too is an open edit field. Sometimes it's really simple. It's the holiday bin in the attic, or maybe it's which house or which relative has this item. Or if you're talking about family photos, which album is it in? But location can also be more than the physical location. You'll see on this example, this member linked the location to a Google Drive document that had additional high resolution images of these textiles. So the beautiful thing with location is that it can be up to you how you interpret it and what you mean by it. Family historians will also, again, use location to link back to maybe information within Ancestry, or they'll link back to a Google Drive that has additional family information or documents. The options really are limitless, and it's up to you to how you want to use this field. It could be literal location, or it could be speaking about a digital location for additional information, depending on what the artifact is and how it ties into your family history. I will fully admit on my end, it's mostly physical locations. I want to remember which bin is this item in, or which photo album is this photo from. It helps me, when I'm looking for something, know exactly where to find it. But don't be fooled, location can be physical and digital. All right. Our next feature that gets a lot of work when dealing with family history is attaching documents. For those of you who haven't attached documents yet within your artifact, in addition to the media files, the photo, video, and audio that you can use to create your artifact, there's also a field called documentation. And you can attach up to 3 different documents. This can be, or these can be anything from um, family letters, correspondence, family trees. If you're dealing with physical items, it could be an appraisal or valuation. It could be certificate of authenticity. We have some folks attach warranties or receipts. But it's really the documentation field allows you to add additional, as the name says, documents to help build out the story behind the items you're artifacting. Um, this is, you can upload again PDF, PNG, JPEG, all sorts of variety of files. So it's very flexible and very easy to use. Some family historians who are using artifacts to essentially create chapters of their family book or family history will include in documentation original research they've done or scanned copies of research or of, if they went to the National Archives in DC and were able to scan documents there, they can attach those scans in the documentation section if they haven't already attached them as part of the media in the artifact. But again, it's very flexible to allow you to use it and interpret it as you wish. So last but not least, captions. For those of you who haven't experimented with captions yet, captions are a great way to give even more specific detail about the media files you upload in your artifact. So in this example, it's looking at a high school diploma. And you can see the caption below the image of the diploma describes in greater detail about the actual image. This is wonderful if you're dealing, especially with old family documents or family photos, and you want the caption to be very detailed specific so as not to interfere with the story and description that you want to tell. Captions, again, are very flexible and they allow you to image by image or video by video state what it is and add to the story as you create your artifact. So family historians and genealogists love using the captions when they're uploading their media files. All right, at this point, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to quickly check to see if we have any questions. And then I'm going to go into the live demo part of this and show you how to use each one of those features when you are creating your artifacts. And I'll start by sharing one of mine. I will note, I should have said at the beginning, I'm sorry, folks, if you've got questions, please feel free to pop them into chat or use the Q&A function. And seeing that we have no current questions, I'm going to go ahead and go into the live demo portion of this. To tee it up, I am going to be working with one of my favorite artifacts. It is a framed copy, or actually original. It's a recipe my father wrote when he was in 4-H, so decades and decades ago. It's on this tattered sheet of paper from a 4-H national conference. I found it tucked into one of my mother's cookbooks, and I fell in love with it because it has his handwriting. It's a connection to him. So I decided to frame this and it hangs in my kitchen and it always makes me smile. So this is the artifact I'm going to be using for the live demo part of this workshop. If you wish to follow along at home and create your own artifacts, now's a great time to get the item if you already don't have it with you. I'm going to switch over and we'll dive into how, in practicality, each one of those features is used when you're making an artifact that's really designed to help document, preserve, and share your family history. So with that, I cheated. I already logged into my Artifacts account. So again, for those of you who are new to Artifacts, you can go ahead and create a free account and create an artifact in real time with us. For those that are already members and have accounts, fabulous. Feel free to follow along using your own artifacts as examples. Otherwise, feel free to sit back and watch and take notes and artifact on your own time. So as I mentioned, this is the artifact of that framed recipe. I did already log into my account and I found the artifact. So I cheated a little bit, but you can see here on the screen, I've got the front of the recipe. I also added a second photo for the back of the recipe. We talked about in creating the artifact using the @ symbol. This is an example right here. In the story, in this description, I note that I found this recipe tucked away in my mother's cookbooks. When I made the artifact, I used the @ symbol to link this recipe to her cookbooks. So now if my daughter is reading this artifact, she can now easily click and say, oh, wow, I didn't know about grandma's cookbooks. She can click, oops, and view the whole artifact. And it's thinking. And you can see here how we talked about earlier using the @ feature to connect the dots. This is one of the dots that tells a more complete story about my family's love of cooking and recipes. So I'm going to go back though to our original artifact. The barbecue buns makes about 20. We also noted in one of the key features is the custom tags. So down here, you can see it's a pretty generic tag recipes, but I artifact a lot of our family recipes. Of our recipes I artifact, I have a special category, which is why I have a custom tag for it, of recipes I've made when I've been baking with my daughter. So that tag is called Baking with Hazel. So all the recipes I've tried, including this one, with my daughter, get the tag Baking with Hazel. So you can see here, again, this is not an artifact that's telling a long family history, but for me, it's a fun artifact that does have components of our family history tied into it. So I don't have as many tags as I showed you on the example, but I do. I have a tag here, QR stickered. What that means, you'd be wondering, what is that? That is one I've put, in this case, I put a QR code on the back of this. And that, when I click that tag, I can view all of my artifacts that have that QR code sticker. I did this because something ever happened to me. My daughter, my family could scan the QR code, up pops this artifact. They now know this is why mom has that recipe framed in the kitchen. Here's the story behind it. But then they also know what happens to it in the future, which is really important. I'm going to scroll down here to details. We talked about how old it is. So for me, I don't know the exact year this recipe was written. I asked my father, and he wasn't entirely sure himself. Sometime late 60s, sometimes early 70s. Couldn't remember which convention it was. So I put circa 1970. When I show you the timeline in a little bit, you'll see where this artifact pops up in the timeline in the 1970s. I noted before that when using the brand or artist field, in this case, I wrote my father. He's the one that made this artifact. Again, other family historians or genealogists can use that field to really, it's an open edit field. You can link again to your ancestry accounts, to your family search accounts. You can link to other timelines or other genealogy or family history software. It's truly up to you. You can see here I have noted dimensions. Location. I told you all, I'm pretty literal in my location. So in this case, it's on my kitchen shelf for everyone to see. And then I chose in the future, keep it in the family. I don't mind which family member gets this item as long as it stays in the family. I will note my daughter has called dibs on it, but I don't think anyone's going to fight her for it. So that is what this artifact looks like when it's been created. I'm going to go in. I'm going to first show you if I want to share it, how that share feature looks. And then I'm going to go into edit mode and show you if you're making this artifact. We're going to walk step by step so you can follow along at home how to make one just like this. But first, let's start with share. When I go to share, we talked about this as one of the core features, sharing on your terms. This artifact is in fact public. So all of you can view this artifact as many times as you want at home. That's why I can pop it if I wanted to pop it into Facebook or other social platforms. I could copy the link right here and then pop it into a chat or a text or pop it into email. I could share with a specific person. So my father's screen name is @grandpa, and you can see here, I gave him the role of editor. I could always change it and say, you know what? I'm not going to let him edit this artifact. It's mine. He's going back to view only. I could also give him full control and say, you know what? He may have additional photos from this national conference when he was there. Maybe he can add the photos and help me tell a more complete story about this artifact. So the difference between editor and full control. Editor can add in details to the artifact. Full control, you're giving someone full control. So they can add images, any media file really, video, audio, photo. They can, of course, add details. They can also delete either the entire artifact or items in the artifact you've already created. So you can, again, when you share with artifacts, you're able to give someone full control. You can also take full control away with a click of a button, pop them back down to editor or to view only, but we always put you in control. A lot of families really enjoy using the editor function or full control function if you really trust your family um, to collaborate on artifacts. And I'll show you how to do that when we get into edit it. But that is how you can choose who gets to see what and what role do they have. In this case, you can see my daughter, she gets to view only. She does not get to edit the artifact, but she can view it. If I want to add someone, say I want to add my husband, I can say, great. Enjoy. When you add someone to share the artifact with, you can add a message. Not required, but you can add a message. So if I wanted to give him instructions like, dear husband, please try making these. Let me know what you think, or whatever it happens to be. You can do that too. And then I can click share. And you can now see he's now been added as a viewer. So I have my husband and my daughter who can view this artifact, and my father who can edit this artifact. I'm going to click done. All right, that was a lot of information all at once. I'm going to pop into edit mode so you can see how we actually use some of those features. So down here, I'm going to go into edit. For those of you new to artifacts, you can edit any artifact as many times as you want. That's the beauty, is if you're telling your story on your terms, you don't have to get it right the first time. We like to say that memories beget even more memories. And with artifacts, that's the beautiful thing. You can add as a memory comes to you, or a piece of a memory, add to it over time. So here we go. I'm in the edit field. You can see I linked to my mother's cookbooks. I linked down here, my father has his own artifact he privately shared with me, which was 4-H was for me. Down here, you can see I asked him a question, Dad, what's the story? If I want to use the @ feature, and I can say person, another artifact, a sharing list or invite only circle. I'm going to do person @grandpa. I was thinking right here, @grandpa. What's the story? Where did this recipe come from? Did you ever make the buns, right? That's one of my questions. I found this recipe. It was tucked lovingly into a cookbook, but I don't recall my family ever making this recipe, which kind of, again, one of the reasons it makes me smile, right? It's a really funny story to me. So I just used the @ feature. I used my father's screen name. And now when I click save, this is going to be sent, this artifact will be shared with him, and he will get that question. And I hope, since he has editor access, he can go in and add his details and answer my question in the artifact. You can see how the collaboration goes back and forth. In this case, when I linked these artifacts, I simply did @ and the name of the artifact. So again, that @ symbol is really powerful. Down here, I want to just show you another feature, private notes. This is where if you are making this artifact and you want to share and give someone view access, but you want to keep some notes private to yourself, this is a great way to do so. Private notes, as you see here, they're only visible to those that you give full control to. So even if I gave my father editor access, but I wanted to put in private notes, he wouldn't be able to see the notes. He'd be able to see the question I have for him right here, but he wouldn't see my private notes. Private notes, or anything with a padlock, are only viewable to those that have full control. You can see here, I noted again, when acquired, I didn't know the exact date, but how old is it? I was able to choose circa 1970. Since again, my father wasn't sure, late 60s, early 70s, close enough. And then down here, brand or artist is where I put my father. And again, where you could easily put a link to an ancestry account or my family search or whatever it happens to be. Down here again, another padlock field, value, location, in the future, and documentation, unless you choose to share, are private until you give someone full control access. But you can see this is where, when you saw that finished artifact, this is when you're in there making the artifact what it looks like. This is where documentation, if I wanted to add a file, I could click add a file for documentation. And then I'd have the ability to choose what file do I want to add. I'm going to cancel. But if I chose a file, it would then ask me what type of file. I could name my file. I could pick the category, appraisal, warranty, additional documentation, you name it. And this is where the tags come in. So custom tags. For me, recipes, keyword stickered, baking with Hazel. I'm going to do one baking with dad. There we go. I got another custom tag now. I'm going to click save. And it's taking a sec. There we go. And now you can see, we go back to the artifact, you can see I've now got that baking with dad custom tag. That's how easy custom tags are. You can also see when I expand the story, it's now linked to grandpa. And he's going to get a copy of this along with the question. And again, since he has editor control, I hope I may get an answer or two to my questions. So that was a lot of information all at once. I want to back up for a moment and share with you the timeline view now. That's the one feature you haven't had a chance to see real time as part of this demo. So let's back up to my artifacts and let's look at timeline. So if you're in your artifacts account, this is where you would see the different view options. I currently have view set to grid. That's my preferred view. But I can go over here to timeline view. I can click timeline view, and it's thinking a sec. I've got close to 400 artifacts, so it takes a moment to auto-populate my timeline. But here we go. So you can see for 2025, I've made 20 artifacts so far. Let's scroll down. Since that artifact, that recipe from the 1970s, let's pop down to the 70s. Keep going. And right here, you can see 1970. There's the artifact. And if I click on it, sorry, my laptop's a little slow. Up pops the artifact, and I can view the whole artifact. If I wanted to drag and drop and say, hey, actually, you know what? I think it was 1972. I now know this. I can drag and drop and move it around. I don't have to go back into, oops, cancel right there. I don't have to go back in to edit it when I'm in timeline view to move it around the timeline. And as I mentioned, you can reorder your timeline from ascending or descending order. You can also, and click right here, view timeline by year or by decade. I can also add time period notes. This is, again, part of our goal was to make the timeline very user-friendly and not an entire new project you have to take on when you're artifacting. So if I want to add time period notes, I can click add time period note and then add one, say for 2025, I can note this is the year that we moved, or this is the year my daughter was born, or this is the year that my parents got married. Whatever that note is, when you're building out that timeline and you're using it for family history and family storytelling, it's a great way to essentially add little notes to your history. And again, you can also newest, oldest, oldest, newest. So you can see my timeline goes back to 1829. It doesn't pick back up again to 1890s. But there's a lot you can do with a timeline view. And as you add more artifacts to your collection, it really, you start seeing it tell your story, your family history, your family story. So with that, I'm going to pause for a moment. I see we've got some questions that have come into chat. I'm going to take questions. Um, the first up is, are custom tags only available to the creator, not for other artifactors? That's a great question. So custom tags, when you create a custom tag, if you share that artifact with others, they then have access to that custom tag. They can use the custom tag. So if you're artifacting as part of, say, a family reunion, and you want to make a custom tag, say, family last name reunion 2025, you make an artifact, you create the custom tag, you then share it with, say, a member going to reunion. Whoever you share it with can use that same custom tag. They will not be able to view the artifacts unless they're public or unless you share it with them. So just because they have access to the custom tag doesn't mean they can view all of your artifacts. You still either have to make the artifact public or choose to privately share with them. But others can access the custom tags if you share it with them. We also have within artifacts, we have a bunch of standard tags. If you're just like, I can't think of tags, I just want to, pick one from a list. We have an entire list from anniversary to different milestone birthdays to family adventures or summer travel, like you name it. So you can make your own custom tags. You can also use some of the ones that we have to get you started. And you can essentially, the same way you share an artifact, you can share the custom tags. You can also, we've had some folks who, with large kind of family associations, maybe they have their own family researcher or family genealogist, and they've been tracking family history for hundreds and hundreds of years. In this case, they will create a custom tag for that family or for that line of the family they're researching. And they'll even send out, in a family email, like, hey, like if you are artifacting your family history, use this tag. So there are different ways to, you don't always have to share the artifact to share the tag, but you can also let people know about the tag. And then if you are artifacting together as a family, they can use the tag. And then when you all share artifacts together, you can view them and sort them by tag. Hopefully that helped. We've got another question about the QR codes and what happens if if you scan a QR code, but you don't have access to the artifact. That is a great question. So the same way that we built the share feature, where you can share an artifact with someone and then you can take away that sharing ability. If you shared an artifact with someone and you're using a QR code sticker, or you're simply printing off the QR codes yourself, which you can do, each and every artifact you make gets a custom QR code and you just click print. If the person, say I had my entire family over to my house, and one of my cousins started flipping over my pictures and scanning the back of the QR codes, but I had not shared those artifacts with him. What would happen is he would get a pop-up that says this artifact is private. He would then get a button to request access to the artifact. So the same way that when you share an artifact, you manage the who gets to view it, you manage the privacy of it, the QR codes are no different. If someone has access to the artifact already, and that's because maybe it's either public, we have some historical societies who use the QR codes kind of in their museum display cases, and those artifacts are public. So anyone can scan up pops the history and the story of the item. In my case, I pretty much anything in my house that has a frame, including the photos behind me, has been artifacted and has a QR code on the back of it. And my immediate family all has access to it, but not my extended family. So my immediate family can scan the QR code sticker, up pops the artifact, the story, all the details. My cousin would have to request access. And what would happen would be that I would then get access. I would then get the request and either say grant access to my cousin or sorry, dear cousin, this artifact is private. You're not getting access. But as part of how we are always putting you in control of your story and your history. And I think that's really important, right? Um, that's one of the reasons we are private by default. So that's the QR code bit. Um, all right. Any other questions, folks? While we give folks time to pop in questions, I'm going to invite one of our members who joined us today, Lem. He wanted to share one of his artifacts. I am going to try to let Lem share his screen to share his artifact and his family history. Um, he's got a really fun story. Um, let's see if I can do this. All right. Let's see. Oops. Lem, maybe you aren't able to share your screen, but if you want to pop into chat a link to the artifact you wanted to share, folks could see that. Sorry about that. I thought we had the screen sharing enabled. Oh, or I can share it. Yes, I will share it. Fabulous. Thank you, Lem. Oops. Let's do this. Pop this open, folks. And this is one that was made again by one of our members who joined us today, Lem. And he wanted to kind of highlight it as a way that he's used um, artifacts to help preserve some of his family history. All right, let's do this and I'll share my screen. Oops. Sorry for the technical difficulties. All right, let's go here. And Lem, I wish you were able to share this since you tell the story much better than I ever possibly could. But here we go, folks. This is one that, again, Lem made. He documented his dad's Porsche and the family history behind the car. You can see how he used the caption to give more details to what's behind the photo, right? Because photos can't talk. You can also see how he added in the actual manual. He kept the manual, which I think is really fun when you think about how different families keep different things to document time periods or pieces of their lives. This is a really, I thought, a fun example of how you can tell a lot through, again, the objects, photos, items, keepsakes, mementos, you name it. And then I love how Lem's used multiple categories. So for some folks, if you feel overwhelmed by custom tags, categories are a great way to sort and search too. And you can have more than one category per artifact. So this is the artifact that one of our members, Lem, wanted to share. And we really were grateful for the participation and grateful to see how artifacts is being used by others to document and share their family history. So thank you so much, Lem, for sharing. We really appreciate it. All right, folks, other questions? We've got a question about how to use timeline feature if you have private artifacts. Do you see all of your artifacts on the timeline? So yes, if you have, when you go to view your timeline, you see every artifact you have created on your timeline. You can share your entire artifacts collection if you want to, and you can share it in timeline view or whichever view you want to. When you share your collection, depending on who you're sharing it with or that view you're sharing, they can view only the artifacts they have access to. So if you have some artifacts that are private, some that are public, some that are shared, again, depending on who you've given access to, it's what they can see in the timeline. So for instance, if you go on you can easily find my essentially artifacts homepage. Just type in @Heather, you'll see my artifacts collection. You can even view my timeline by going to timeline and viewing that feature, you'll see only the public artifacts I have. So although I have close to 400 private artifacts, I will admit the majority are private. So you can view my public timeline. It's sparse. But then folks that I've shared the artifacts with privately shared, they can view much more. They can view the ones they have access to. So that was a great question about if you're sharing kind of your overall collection with someone, unless you are always sharing with someone, they probably can't see every single artifact you've made unless either they're all public or you've always shared with them. You can only view the artifacts you have access to. All right. Yes, a couple of questions came in the chat. We have another one from Mary Pat. In the example that Lem shared with the Portia, could Lem have made the manual photo the main focus photo? Yes, definitely. Lem could have chosen the manual as the main focus photo. He could also still go back in and do that. And let me quickly show you, I'm just gonna go back and share my screen and show you how to do that. If you're wondering, how do I move around kind of that main photo focus, right? So here in my artifact, I've got the primary photo, the one that you see, is the front of the recipe. I also remember have the back of the recipe. I'm going to go back into edit. And if I go over here, right now, this is my cover photo. I can make this my cover photo. And when I click save, you will see now that it's, oops, let's refresh this. It is the back of the recipe when you view it in my timeline. Let's go back here. Get out of the actual artifact itself. And it's thinking, let's scroll down to the 1970s. While we scroll, and you can see now, that's the back of the recipe. That's now my cover photo. So I'm going to go back in to my artifact. And I'm going to edit it because I like having my cover photo be this one. So I'm going to go back in, edit it, and change the cover back to the original. But you can easily change which photo, or if you have video or audio, which one you want to be the cover by simply clicking here and changing cover. You can also, if you want to change the order, if I had, say I had 5 different photos in this artifact, I want to change the order, I could drag and drop and change the order that you view the photos in the artifact as well. So I'm going to click save and stop sharing my screen and take a couple more questions we've got. Yes, another question about the photo, changing up the photos. Yes, Mary Pat, you can certainly change the photo. If you find another one that you like better, you add it. You can, again, use that feature to choose cover photo, or you can drag and drop them too. So it's really easy to change up the photo, change up the media, change the order. And again, if you're using the timeline feature and you want to, if you remember, wait a sec, this recipe actually was 1975, not 1970, you can either drag and drop it on the timeline. So click, drag, drop, put it up to 1975, or you can go into the artifact, edit it, and change the date that way. Hopefully that covered. Excellent. We've got a comment, love the in the future feature. This will be so important and useful as I pass along things to my 2 daughters. Yes, thank you. We hope so. Our whole intent behind Artifacts is that we're helping you tell your story today and document and preserve your family history today, but don't leave a burden on the next generation. Definitely take advantage of the in the future field to tell your family, what do you want to happen to this object? It could be keep in the family. It could be bequeath. And if you choose to bequeath, you can even note which person and their contact details, who gets it. Let me share my screen and show you all this. This is not one of the core features that we presented on today, but let me quickly show you. If you recall, in the future, I had here keep in the family. If I go in and edit, or if I make the artifact from scratch, you're going to have the option for in the future. you're going to have the option. You could sell. If you wanted to say this recipe was super valuable because it's written on really rare stationery and I want to sell it, I could choose sell and set a reminder, or even a custom date. When do I want to sell this? If I want to donate this, I can give my family instructions. Here's the organization and either the contact, the person that I know at the organization, or the web address or the URL, the physical address, you name it. If I want to bequeath, not just keep it in the family, but specifically who's going to get this, I could say, dear daughter, this is definitely going to be yours. First name, last name, relationship, and her email address. In this case, I'm going to keep it with keep in the family. But you could also choose as you wish, and you're letting your family know this item was really important to me, but dear family, I recognize it may not be important to you, so as you wish. And then last but not least, too late. If I've already passed on this item, my family doesn't have to have a wild goose chase trying to figure out what on earth, like, where is it? I know mom had this somewhere, but where is it? So you can also let your family know maybe you've already parted with the item or passed it on or rehomed it. That's okay too. So I'm going to keep in the family as it was. There we go. All right, folks. Any other questions before we stop for today? I'll give folks another minute if there's any follow-on questions, but otherwise, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for Afternoons with Artifacts. As always, this session will be available on our YouTube channel. I'll pop the link to that in chat for those of you who are new. All of our evenings and afternoon sessions with Artifacts are available to replay. This will be up there in the next 24 hours to rewatch or to reshare. We're taking the week off next week because our Artifacts team is going to be in sunny Naples, Florida, co-hosting the Legacy Effect Summit with our good friend and colleague, Kristen Goodman of Clicking with Kristen, fellow photo manager. But we will resume afternoons with Artifacts on Tuesday, November 11th. And we're going to be diving into how to preserve family holiday traditions recipe by recipe. So today was a little sneak preview using a recipe, but we're going to go through and help you essentially get organized ahead of the holidays, get ready for all of that cooking and family sharing, but then also capturing the stories and the memories behind maybe some of your family food-based traditions. We'll be joined by special guest Zoe Kim of Raising Simple. So she'll be sharing some of her tips and tricks for how she's using artifacts to get organized, but also pass on family traditions concerning the food and recipes during the holidays. So with that, folks, thank you for joining us today. And if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out always at hello, HELLO, at artifacts.com. And we hope to see you next time. Oops, I realized the YouTube link was not sent to everyone. Here we go. I'll pop that in here. So we hope to see you in 2 weeks as we dive into preserving and sharing those holiday traditions ahead of the holidays. So thank you so much and happy artifacting.